But like many business people, what they're often worried about is the cost. And the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, which is a bipartisan outfit, put out some predictions the other day. If you add up all the promises you've made, and your plans would add $7.5 trillion to the debt. That's more than twice the total for Vice President Harris. You're on course to push up debt up to 150% of GDP. This is a very business-like audience. Why should they trust you with that?
Donald Trump refuses to do interviews unless he is having his hand held by a Fox propaganda outlet host or being lobbed softball questions by a comedian on a podcast. Donald Trump refuses to sit down and give answers on anything, and we know why he's in clear cognitive decline. And on top of that, he has never been able to talk substance or policy in a meaningful way. And Donald Trump's complete separation from reality and his complete cognitive decline was fully on display today in an interview with the Economic Club of Chicago, in which, for the first time in a long time, Donald Trump got strong pushback from the hosts. Interviewing him really confronted him about a whole host of issues: his economic failures, his terrible agenda, and his relationship with Vladimir Putin. And it drove Donald Trump so crazy, he started personally attacking him in this fit of anger and rage that I really haven't seen from Trump in a long time. It was an absolute mess. It was horribly humiliating, and we are going to get into all of it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way in supporting our channel. Now let's get into this first clip of Trump.
You've gone off about that. Seeing you brought up tariffs and foreign policy, many people would say the biggest problem with your tariffs is actually geopolitics. You, in your first term, you got some credit for effectively saying that there was a Cold War against China. That's what America was in. If you look at the last Cold War against the Soviet Union, America won it in part because it rallied allies to it. You're talking about slamming allies with 30%, 20% tariffs. Isn't this time you're going to end up trying to rally the West and you're dividing it instead? Isn't that the real problem with tariffs, even beyond all the problems due to the economy, where you keep on bringing up these individual examples, but the overall effect is going to be dramatic?
No, the overall effect will be...
Answer first about foreign policy.
Yeah, I'll do that.
How does it help you take on China, turning all your allies against you?
Tremendously, because China thinks we're a stupid country, a very stupid country. They can't believe that somebody finally got wise to them. Not one president, Bush, Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him? Not one president, think of it, not one president charged China anything. They said, oh, they are a third world nation, they are developing. Well, we're a developing nation too. Take a look at Detroit. Take a look at our cities. We're a developing nation. We have to develop more than they do. We're way behind them. You take a look at what's happened to our cities. So
when asked about trade and asked about his policy failures, what does Donald Trump do? He resorts to the only thing he knows how: petty grievance, personal attacks, talking about Barack Obama doing his Barack Hussein bit, because he has nothing to say except for these weird, strange attacks that only resonate with a small bit of his bad base. He cannot answer these questions, and that continues to be clear when he's asked about how his proposed economic agenda would absolutely wreck our economy and is significantly worse than Kamala Harris's policies, which actually focus on investing in the future. And let's take a look at that.
But like many business people, what they're often worried about is the cost. And the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, which is a bipartisan outfit, put out some predictions the other day. If you add up all the promises you've made, and your plans would add $7.5 trillion to the debt. That's more than twice the total for Vice President Harris. You're on course to push up debt up to 150% of GDP. This is a very business-like audience. Why should they trust you with that?
we're going to bring the companies back. We're going to lower taxes still further for companies that are going to make their product in the USA. We're going to protect those companies with strong tariffs, because I'm a believer in tariffs. I'm not sure that you are. I don't think you are, but I congratulate you on your career. But To me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff. And it's my favorite word. It needs a public relations firm.
As the moderator said, independent agencies have looked at the difference between VP Harris' agenda, focusing on making sure we have an opportunity economy in this country, and Donald Trump's random tariff policies, which really just act as a tax on regular Americans. And they know that Donald Trump's plans are bad for business. They'd add trillions more to the national debt. And what is Donald Trump's answer to that? He really doesn't have one. He kind of just flails around on stage, as he always does, when asked about policy questions. And when he was asked about a different Putin, he really began to get upset. And we'll see in the clip after that the personal attacks start coming out from Trump. But first, let's take a look at what he had to say when he was confronted about his relationship with Vladimir Putin.
You just mentioned Putin, though, and this has been this controversy of the past week. Can you say yes or no whether you have talked to Vladimir Putin since you stopped being president?
Well, I don't comment on that, but I will tell you that if I did, it's a smart thing. If I'm friendly with people, if I have a relationship with people, that's a good thing, not a bad thing, in terms of a country. He's got 2,000 nuclear weapons, and so do we. China has a lot less, but they'll catch us within 5 years.
That sounds very much like that. Sounds very much like you did talk to him.
I don't talk about that.
You talk about talking to Netanyahu. You talk about talking to these people.
Russia has never.
I haven't spoken to him, but if I did, it would have been smart. Is the clearest form of a yes we're going to get from Donald Trump. He won't say yes, but that is essentially a guess. He has been communicating with Vladimir Putin outside of the White House, as he was when he was in it, because he is only running for president, 1, to stay out of prison, 2, to help his wealthy friends and giant corporations, and 3, to do whatever Vladimir Putin wants, because he is his pet. He is his puppet. We have known this for a long time, and it continues to be clear, and being pushed back against like this for Donald Trump really sets him off. And we saw that as Donald Trump began to make personal attacks against this moderator in this club right here.
You mentioned Taiwan. You said you would defend them. You also seem to imply that on Putin you would not. Putin, you seem to imply that you had talked to him without actually confirming it.
I said I don't comment on those things.
What about, can I ask you a particular thing about the dollar? You talked about wars. At the New York Economic Club, you said that if you lost the dollar as a reserve currency, it would be like America losing a war.
Yeah.
You look at what you're going to do in terms of protectionism, drive countries to use the other currencies, and all that debt is also going to lessen the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency.
If
Don't you worry about that?
The dollar is so secure, your reserve currency is the strongest it'll ever be. And
you said, President Trump, at the moment there is a thing called the Trump trade in the markets. Do you know what that is? The Trump trade is very simple. People are betting that your policies are going to drive up debt, they're going to drive up inflation, so they're going to drive up interest rates. Are the investors wrong?
Yeah, I had 4 years no inflation. I had 4 years no inflation.
But that was when you had much.
I had 4 years. It's better than that. And Biden, who has no idea where the hell he is, okay? Biden went 2 years with no inflation because he inherited from me. And then they started spending money like drunken sailors. They spent so much money. It was so ridiculous, the money they were spending. They were spending on the Green New Scam. The Green New Deal. You know, it was conceived of by AOC plus 3. She never even studied the environment in college. She went to a nice college. She came out, she just said, the Green New Scam. She just named all these things.
But President Trump, the issue at the markets are looking at the fact you are making all these promises. Latest one was car loans. You're flooding the thing with giving giveaways.
But we're going to grow.
I was actually quite kind to you. I used 7 trillion. The upper estimate is 15 trillion. People like the Wall Street Journal, who's hardly a communist organization,
yeah, but you don't know.
They have criticized you on this as well. You are running up enormous debts.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about
You're
it.
trying to turn
The man is completely losing it. He is just out of control. He's more deranged, more demented, more in decline than ever. And he can't keep his grievance inside of him anymore. It's the only thing that he can talk about. The things that are upsetting him, the things that make him mad, attacking his enemies. He's been talking about violence against the enemies from within, about stripping media companies of their broadcasting license. This is someone who is filled with rage and just wants to attack. And it didn't just stop with that clip. When Donald Trump continued to get pushed back, he attacked this moderator again, and we can see that right here.
the overall effect could be massive in terms of the
I
economy.
agree it's going to have a massive effect, positive effect. It's going to be a positive, not a negative.
Well, just
let me just tell let me
give
tell
me
you.
an
I know how
example.
committed you are to this, and it must be hard for you to spend 25 years talking about tariffs as being
Listen.
negative and then have somebody explain to you that you're totally wrong. It'll have a negative, it will have...
Donald Trump is absolutely going to wreck our economy again. If you were to become president, it is what every independent agency, it's what Moody, it's what Goldman Sachs, it's what the Wall Street Journal, for God's sakes, has said about Donald Trump's economic plans, that they're bad for business. It's why we see Fortune 500 CEOs coming out against him, because they know he would destroy our economy because he is in such decline. And it's not just me saying that. It's not just other Democrats. It's former Trump officials, as we can see in this clip right here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back and watch videos of Trump in 2016 compared to videos today, if you watch one of his rallies, it's abundantly clear to me that he's lost his fastball a bit. I mean, no one would ever argue that he was the most eloquent speaker. Let me be clear. But it does appear that he is meandering and rambling more often, and he's having obvious moments of confusion.
Donald Trump is now attacking the moderator of this interview. He was attacking President Obama. For some reason, we've seen him repeatedly attack the city of Detroit. This is the worst run campaign of the worst candidate in presidential history. This is a dangerous and deranged individual, and we need to make sure we stop them. We're going to do it on November 5th, and we're going to be talking about that every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, you can leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.